Why do bad things happen to good people? It's a question many of us struggle with. Hello and welcome to our show, Faith Matters. On this program, we invite three local religious leaders to discuss topics of interest to the community. I'm your host, Supervisor George Homan. Please welcome our guest, Mohammed Ziaullah, a trustee of the Islamic Center of Rockland County, Rabbi Paul Kurland of Congregation Shir, Shalom in Nanuet, and Reverend Richard Hasselbach, the pastor of the Clarkstown Reformed Church. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting us.
Before we get into this important topic, let's get to know our panelists and the congregations they serve a little bit better.
This is Mohammed Ziaullah. I am on the board of trustees of Islamic Center of Rockland.
I'd like to welcome you to the Clarkstown Reformed Church. My name is Pastor Rich Hasselbach, and I've been pastor here for a number of years.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Paul Kurland, and my congregation is Congregation Shir Shalom, which is in New City, New York, here in Rockland County.
And the church itself has been here since 1750, so well before the founding of the United States. And it was originally founded by Dutch settlers in the region. The first pastor knew George Washington and frequently had lunch with him when he was in the area.
Congregation formed already in 1980, but we bought this land, 14.5-acre land, back in 1989, and start construction in 2006, completed in 2008.
Congregation Shir Shalom can be a little bit confusing to many people in Rockland County because it's a name that's only existed for about a year and a half. Because of the fact that we are two congregations that merged. The Nanuet Hebrew Center originally was over on Middletown Road in Nanuet, but the other congregation was Montebello Jewish Center, and a year and a half ago we became one as one congregation.
And right now we have, on any given Sunday, between 55 and 60 folks who will come and celebrate with us. And new people come almost every week. But I think we have a lot to offer because this is an intergenerational and a very diverse church.
In the beginning, we were 50 families, and then now you can see 150 families. So it is keep growing. Getting the home, your own home, individually what feeling you have. Same thing, we have the feeling that we purchase the land, we build the mosque, we open the mosque, and it was a great feeling. All the congregation was very happy, and they see the fruit of their donations.
Nanuet was a congregation that was never more than 300 families. Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessings for our country, for its government. So when we came together, yes, we're more than 300 families now, but that's probably the area that we want to be in. We want that intimacy to still be part of the community.
Thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourselves and your congregations with us. These three houses of worship are really beacons of light in our community, doing a great deal of good. But let's dive into our topic. Rabbi Harold Kushner wrote a famous book called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. That book has sold well over 4 million copies since it was first published in 1981. Kushner frames the question rather nicely as follows, quote, "There really is only one question which really matters. Why do bad things happen to good people? Virtually every meaningful conversation I've ever had with people on the subject of God and religion has either started with this question or gotten around to it before too long." End quote. It's a difficult question about the nature of God, namely if God really does exist and is all-powerful, loving, and good, why does he allow these terrible and often random things to occur? So with that, we turn to our local religious leaders for their thoughts. We see it on the news every day, suffering and often random unfairness of life. Innocent people who undergo the trauma of an earthquake, tornado, hurricane, or other natural disaster. Recently, we've even witnessed the horrors of war in the Ukraine, which is a stark reminder where far too many innocent lives have been lost. The randomness of bad, evil actions affecting seemingly innocent people include crimes or the unforgiving nature of illnesses like cancer that can affect anyone at any point in life. Nobody is immune to these issues and the misfortune that they bring. If you live long enough, you will experience suffering, pain, and have to confront evil in one shape or form. These are the things that often test the faith of even the most devoutly religious person, causing us to ask the age-old question, why? Why do bad things happen to good people?
You know, George, you ask the most important question, because throughout all of human history, people have struggled with that question over and over again. And there's always the attempt to give an answer. I often say that sometimes the answers are very comforting when you first hear them, but then as time goes on, you break them apart and they're not completely comfortable within your soul. That you would like black and white answers. You'd like everything to be so crisp and clear, but that's not the way that the world works. I'd like to think that it's not something I point to God and say, why did God do this? Or why didn't God do this? I like to think that God gives not only us, humankind, free will, but even allows nature free will. And therefore, we're going to have to deal with the difficulty of those horrible tragedies that happen in life. And I wish there was a perfect answer of why. I still struggle with that. And we, I guess, today will share some of our thoughts and we'll come back to it, but I would love to hear from my colleagues as well.
Reverend, why do bad things happen to good people?
I would love to give you the definitive answer. However, I do not have it. And I don't think anybody does. And I think that's part of what makes this such a difficult and searing question. We believe that God is good. And at the same time, we see all the evil in the world and say, why doesn't God do something? Why is God silent? And I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't think we have it. The best answer I can think of is the answer given by the book of Job, which doesn't give an answer either. The book of Job, at least as I read it, ends, or at least it culminates in the moment where God speaks to Job from the whirlwind. And through the entire book, Job has been saying, okay, why? Why? If I could only have an answer, if I could only go to court with God and find out why all of this has been permitted, all my sufferings, all my losses, all my sickness. And in the end, God speaks to him from the whirlwind and doesn't give him an answer. But he does. And the answer is that God speaks. The answer isn't a rational answer, it's a relational answer. And the answer I see in the book of Job is, look, I care about you. I love you. I'm speaking to you. And you can never really understand the answers to the questions you're posing. But you can understand this. I'm here. I speak to you, and I speak to you because I love you.
Beautiful. Mohammed, what does the prophet say about this?
You know, this topic is really being addressed so many places in Quran, okay? And it is very, very difficult question. The only you can answer this with your belief. The belief should be complete belief, not the halfway through. The belief is that Allah, Almighty Allah, has created us. We all are slave of Him. We believe in that whatever He is doing, it is for benefit for us. But at the time of the calamity, at the time of sorrow, at the time, we don't know. But Allah knows that. Why Allah gave us this, put us in this situation. And you know, in the Quran, Allah is saying that He swear by time. He say, "Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr, illa allazina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr." means I swear by time. Indeed, mankind is in loss, except for those who have believed, who again believed and done righteous deed and be patient. So that's the thing. Allah is saying that yes, it's gonna calamity gonna come, problems gonna come, but you have to, look back to me.
And I think one of the meanings we can pull out of suffering is compassion.
Yeah.
That suffering draws compassion from the community. So when somebody suffers in your congregation or yours, people gather around. They make casseroles. They pray. They care. They express their care, and that compassion itself is a healing thing. And I think in a way it's an extension of the compassion of God, who may not be able to alter the evil in our world, because I don't think he creates it. But he certainly can deal with it compassionately and lovingly. And we are the ones who are his ambassadors in that regard. We're the ones who bring the compassion to others.
So thank you all for your incredible insights to this point. But we need to take a quick break. So you're watching Faith Matters, and we'll be right back.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
You know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because of some of the changes your friends and teachers have seen in you lately. And along with the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
Yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We'd like to understand it better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we want to make sure you know about the negative consequences for someone your age. So, can we talk?
Talk. They hear you.
Matthew.
Huh?
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. And what you say really does matter to me.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me, and they make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for talking.
Talk. They hear you.
Welcome back to Faith Matters. We've been discussing the difficult topic of evil and why bad things happen to good people. I want to welcome back our guests, Rabbi Kurland, Reverend Hasselbach, and Mohammed Ziaullah. So, gentlemen, I've often heard the comment made by folks as they're going through some tragedy or some difficulty that somehow God is a righteous and just judge and they must deserve what has been meted out to them. What say you to that?
Well, I say that whoever said that to you would have been a very good comforter for Job, because that's what they were saying. They were saying, Job, fess up. What did you do wrong? It must have been you. It must have been someone around you. It must have been your relatives. That's why you're suffering. You're suffering because you deserve it. And I think that is a comforting answer in some ways, because it makes the world more predictable. So if evil is the result of my actions, my guilty actions even, then I understand the world. It becomes less of a random place. But when evil happens and bad things happen, and they will to all good people and bad people as well, when there's no predictability to it, it becomes a bit more difficult to deal with. And so I do not buy into the we get punished by God for our bad deeds school of thought. But I do believe that we have every right to ask the questions. Why? Why am I suffering? But more important than why am I suffering is what can I make of the suffering?
I don't like thinking of God as being just all the time. I'm not saying that God isn't just. I'm saying that I'm very uncomfortable with pointing to somebody and saying, oh, you must have done something wrong. And I get very uncomfortable when there's a tornado or hurricane, whatever, and I hear some kind of, usually a fundamentalist in any religion, saying, well, this town, this country, they were attacked because of the evil. That means that the people that died in the towers on 9/11 were all, almost 3,000 of them, evil? No, absolutely not. Or those that survived, because all of a sudden, I remember one story that a man had bought a new pair of shoes, and while he was walking to work, he got a blister, and he had to stop in to buy some bandage or so, and because of that, he got to work late, and the towers had collapsed. Was he saved because he was so righteous? No, I don't think the world works like that. But I do believe with Mohammed and with you, Rich, that that there's a certain amount of healing that we need to bring to this world.
Yeah.
And I will repeat myself over and over and over again that we need to be the partners. We're the ones that bring the goodliness and the godliness to this world.
We are saying that, oh, you got cancer because of this. And we don't know. We are entering in the God's territory. Allah knows that, why this person got this problem. Okay, so we are not the judge. We should not be the judge to tell them because this happened because of you. Yeah, certain things which is obvious. For example, a person got the lung cancer, and we know that he's smoking 4 packs a day, and doctors keep telling them, and he didn't listen. So yeah, that's obvious. But certain things are not obvious. In this word, our belief is this: Allah gave you the test. Okay, if you pass the test by being patient, asking Allah to help, you will be rewarded, maybe in this world or maybe hereafter. But you will get the reward. That's promise of God, Allah. Allah says that, I don't test people beyond their ability to, beyond their ability. So I test people with their, whatever it comes from Allah or God, you will get reward, whether in this world or in hereafter.
So we've been talking a lot about death, and that's a natural consequence. But one of the issues is there are loads of people that are facing tragedies, and they've experienced tragedies. I've interviewed a number of people, Anastasia Karasik, for example, on one of our other programs on this channel, who lost her daughter when she was in 8th grade at the hands of a drunk driver. And how she's turned that into something good, created a foundation. How many lives has she positively impacted in the name of her daughter, Larissa, by creating this foundation to bring awareness why we shouldn't drive altered or people shouldn't drive drunk. Billy Keenan, who lost the ability to walk, who was paraplegic, paralyzed from the neck down. And Billy now is a motivational speaker and is teaching people from his own experience. So there's something to be learned from this, and you've all had experiences in ministering to people that have gone through terrible tragedies that the outside person would look at and say, why did this happen? God, why is this, terrible thing befallen this individual? But they've survived it, and they've turned their life in a different direction. Could you speak to that and your experience about that?
Sadly, over the years, by being a rabbi for several decades, you've dealt with so many different people in different situations. Those type of people are quite motivating to all of us, because they picked up the pieces in their lives and somehow not only found, just put a life together, but found even greater meaning in terms of what their existence on this earth is all about. And they bring so much more goodness into other people's lives.
When I first came to the Clarkstown Reformed Church back in 2010, I ran into a young woman who was just vibrant. She loved hiking, she loved kayaking, she loved outdoors. She had these dreams. She's 29 years old. These dreams of a white picket fence and kids and, you know, falling in love and being in love. And then she had a massive brain bleed. And for the better part of a month, it was unclear whether she'd live or die. As it began to become clear that she would live, she and her family heard things like, you'll have to learn how to walk again. You'll have to learn how to feed yourself again. You'll have to learn how to talk again. So this young woman who was athletic and vibrant, all of a sudden has everything that she loved about her young life ripped away from her. But she had courage. She learned how to walk. She learned how to talk. She learned how to be her, to get her life back again. And as she was, I'm happy to say that she's now about 10 years, 15 years later, she's herself. I mean, she's got it all back. She's hiking and she's kayaking. She's doing all the things she loves. She's married. She's got children. But as she's coming out of the woods, she wrote this to me. She said, through all this, I have realized how much those around me who loved me mean to me. She says, I realize how much I love them too. And if that's all that happens because of this, it was worth it. And so there's, I think, sometimes the bad things that happen to us allow us to find something else that's even more beautiful. And I don't know if that's not the Spirit of God bringing people to a wisdom that they might otherwise not have had. And I'm not saying that God caused the brain bleed, but I am saying that when we allow God to enter our lives through the love of others and through God's own love, we discover that He does, as the Portuguese say, right straight with crooked lines.
Mohammed?
Yeah, this is a difficult timings, when somebody has this type of tragedy. For example, I have noticed that there were two people in the congregation. They were not that regular to come to the mosque and pray. So one of his son, 23-year-old, he was in the U.S. Army, and after the boot camp, he came back in his room, and in the morning they found him dead. And when he got this he was really devastating, when he called me. We were together in the mosque, we did the prayer for him, and then it turned into positive, that now he start doing a lot of volunteer work. He start coming to the mosque, Sunday school, and things like that. So these type of things can turn around. The other way, like if somebody got like a warrior or some car accident, lose their legs, they can moan and bitch all their life, but it's not going to change. Nothing going to change. You keep blaming the God, keep blaming Allah, but the other way approach is that you take it and turn into positive. Okay, whatever is happened, but my leg is not going to come back, my hand is not going to come back, it's gone now. Whether you like it or not, whether you curse God or you pray, but praying may turn around and may change to positive.
Excellent message, to kind of bring about it. Listening to all three reminds me. I had an aunt, Judy, and she was diagnosed with MS and became extremely progressive, and she lived 35 years with it, and very debilitating the last number of years of her life. And I remember having a conversation with her once about, how difficult things were for her. And she said, I'm paraphrasing her, but she said, some people say, I should just throw the towel in. And she said, I won't, because all I have to then do is bend over and pick it back up again. And literally just going on, and what's the lesson that you can learn? Because we can all learn. And I think that's what I'm hearing from each of the traditions, from Judaism, Christianity, and from Islam, that, there are terrible things that happen. We don't have the answers, but there's lessons that we can learn from these things. And I want to thank you all for sharing some of those lessons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
to
for
be here.
inviting us.
So stay tuned. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back with our motivational moments.
In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music and we talked. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted in my own life.
And I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, in whatever you do.
Talk, they hear you.
Matthew. Huh? Oh. I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. And what you say really does matter to me.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me, and they make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for talking.
Talk, they hear you.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
Yeah, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, anything, you need to tell an adult, someone you know and trust. That can be hard, but speaking up about a problem is what helping a friend is all about.
Welcome back. To close our show, we're going to ask Rabbi Kurland to offer a motivational moment in the form of a prayer. Rabbi?
Each one of us today have talked about our responses to difficult moments in life, and that's, to put it mildly, difficult moments. And I think that we all would agree that the message I have in this very meaningful prayer is what we really want to get out to all of you. This is my prayer to you, dear God. Let not my spirit wither and shrivel in its thirst for you, and lose the dew with which you sprinkled it when I was young. Bless my eyes, purify me to see humanity's beauty rise in the world, spreading its fragrance over all the earth. May my heart be open to every broken soul, to orphan life, to every stumbler wandering unknown and groping in the shadow. Deepen and broaden my senses to absorb and share with others a fresh, green, flowering world. And let us learn the secret of how to make souls blossom. Amen.
Amen.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank my guests, Mohammed Ziaullah from the Islamic Center of Rockland County, Reverend Richard Hasselbach from the Clarkstown Reformed Church, and Rabbi Paul Kurland from Congregation Shir, Shalom. Until next time, I'm Supervisor George Holman, and thanks for watching Faith Matters.